On today's podcast, we sit down for a conversation with Virginie Berger, Senior Vice President of Global Publishing and Society Relations at Songtrust. Songtrust is a music publishing administrator. We discuss the role and services that Songtrust provides to songwriters, who Songtrust works best for, when you need a publishing administrator, the need to understand the value of your publishing as a songwriter, and how to set up your own publishing, and much, much more. Insiders, are you ready? Welcome to MUBUTV's Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage artists and music business professionals who are dedicated to having a successful career in the new music industry. Here are your hosts, Ritch, Esra, and Eric Knight.
Welcome back, Insiders, to another episode of the MUBUTV Insider Podcast, where our mission is to educate, empower, and engage your music career. On today's episode, we're with Virginie Berger, Senior VP of Global Publishing and Society Relations at Songtrust, a music publishing administrator, where we discuss the role and services that Songtrust provides to songwriters, the need to understand the value of your publishing, and how to set up your own publishing company. But first, a word from our sponsor. Hey, Insiders, are you looking to take your music career to the next level? Then you need to know about the Music Business Registry. The Music Business Registry is the leading music industry publisher of the most up-to-date contact information for major and independent record label A&R, music publishers, artist managers, music attorneys, music supervisors, and much, much more. The Music Business Registry is the trusted industry standard and source serving the music business community for over 28 years with the most accurate and up-to-date contact information available. Their titles include the A&R Registry, the Film and Television Music Monthly, the Music Publisher Registry, and the Music Attorney Registry. All of their publications are available in print, PDF, CSV, or online subscription. Visit them now at musicregistry.com and receive a 10% discount by using coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. When you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
Welcome back, Insiders. Today's featured interview is with Virginie Berger, Senior Vice President of Global Publishing and Society Relations for Songtrust, which is a music publishing administrator. This was a very interesting conversation. This is a woman who has had extensive experience in music and with various collection societies around the world. What I loved about this conversation, Eric, was that Virginie really got into the whole aspect of not only the value of your music publishing, but how to set up your own music publishing.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I really loved, that she walked us step by step on how to set a publishing company, which is so important. And a lot of people are really confused about the subject of music publishing to begin with. So, this is another in a long line of series of podcasts that we're coming out with these new service-based things that are really serving the artist.
Absolutely. And the other thing, Eric, that I thought was most interesting was how she spoke about who Songtrust may not work for and why.
Absolutely. And with that, Insiders, sit back, relax, and enjoy our featured conversation with Virginie Berger.
Virginie, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
I want to ask, when in your life did you know that the music business was going to be your professional career path?
When I was 3 years old, maybe. My father was crazy about music. He's still crazy about music. So I started to listen to music with him and to go to concerts, actually. So since I'm a kid, I wanted to work in the music industry, but not like, I would have loved to be a rock star, but I'm not, and I don't have the voice or, everything. So it's absolutely not, I'm not frustrated. I don't work in the music industry because, I wanted to be a rock star. Absolutely not. But since I'm 13, I decided that I wanted to be a manager, actually, because of the movie, do you remember The Rose?
Yes.
About Janis Joplin?
Bette Midler. First movie.
Bette Midler or Janis Joplin? Yeah,
well,
but she was
kind of modeled on Janis, but it was starred Bette Midler. I remember that movie very well.
Yeah, so since I'm a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you want, all right. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes.
Virginie, can you tell us a little bit about what Songtrust is and what it does?
So Songtrust is a publishing administrator, which means that Songtrust is like a middleman between the artists, the writers, the composers, or the publisher, and rights organization. So our job is to make sure that our clients will be able to collect everywhere, so in the world, all rights. So that's really our job, because sometimes composer or writers or publisher don't really understand how to interact with rights organizations, so ASCAP or BMI in the US, or I would say SACEM or GEMA in Europe. And you have to get registered with those rights organizations, and you have to understand what to do with them. So our role is to make sure that we help our clients to get registered with rights organization, but also that they understand where is the money, which means that at some point, sometimes it can be slow to get money, from one rights organization to another one, especially for international rights, actually. So we registered our clients everywhere to make sure that they will get their money. And also we educate a lot our clients about publishing in general and rights in general for them to understand what they have to do actually with rights.
Okay. Songtrust, as you said, is a music publishing administrator.
Yeah.
Can you talk about who needs a publishing administrator? Is that something that everyone needs, or who needs that?
It's when you become actually, I would say, a semi-professional, writer or composer or professional, but semi-professionals. Because if you only have 2 or 3 musical works, songs, and you don't know what to do with it, I'm not sure that Songtrust will help you a lot. Why? Not because of Songtrust, but because rights organizations actually only collect for professional or semi-professional writers or composers. So when you start to have to gain some visibility, or to have some views on, social media or on platforms, for example, or when you start to work with the distributors, you can start to work with Songtrust.
Are there any additional services or features that Songtrust offers that are unique to the artist?
Yeah, through Songtrust we also offer YouTube monetization, but also through Downtown, because Songtrust is part of Downtown Music actually. So through Downtown we can also offer distribution with CD Baby, for example, or you can also get some monetization through Fondi, or work with AVL for YouTube monetization, because, Downtown is a very big group of music. So through Songtrust, actually, you can do everything from the creation, distribution, but also monetization.
Okay. Virginie, can you discuss why it is so important for beginning songwriters and artists to learn the basics and have a solid understanding of music publishing? Can you talk about the importance that, publishing serves in an artist's career or a songwriter's career?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's because without publishing, you will never get your money on the publishing side. You have the master side, but you also have the publishing side. And most of the writers don't understand actually what is the point? Why do I need a publisher? Do I need a pub admin? Should I set up my own publishing company? How does it work? And why? Why most of the time? Just to give you a personal example, my neighbor's son actually has decided that he wanted to be a musician. And a rock star, for sure. He's 22, and we had a dinner last week because his mother wanted absolutely, me to explain to him, because for him it's like, okay, so I will use a distributor and just, drop some songs on iTunes and we're good. No, you're not. It's how to become a rock star.
That's just the beginning of the journey.
Yeah,
Right. Fantasy. Yeah.
So I told him, first you have to go through the copyright office. You have, just to make sure that your song will be protected. And from there, you will have to get registered with a rights organization, because we can't collect the rights if you are not registered with a rights organization. So BMI or ASCAP, or it depends on where you are. And from there, you can use us to make sure that we will collect everywhere. So most of the writers and composers don't understand what is publishing, because they don't understand the split of rights between, in the publishing world actually. So and they don't understand what is a PRO, what is a CMO, all those acronyms. They don't, and they think most of the time that if they are affiliated with a rights organization, they're good. And that's it. They have nothing to do. Copyright office, why? Understand, sound exchange, neighboring rights, for example, why? And even if you talk with even artists that are, with a big career, most of the time they only have an affiliation with a PRO, but they don't think that they need something else. So the importance of publishing is just for the writers or the publisher to collect all his rights, really. And as Songtrust can also become like the publisher, pub and mean, of the writers, which means that if they don't have a publishing company, we'll be able to collect 100% of the publisher rights, of the publisher share, and to forward it to the writers. So if they don't understand what is publishing, and if they are not affiliated with a rights organization or with a company, and with a company like Songtrust, they will lose money at the end. And when you look at, the market and the context with, COVID and live performance that were just nothing during COVID, and same with stores that were closed. So obviously they lost plenty of money. So that's why being able to get affiliated with a rights organization and a pub admin will help them to get their rights.
And this is a perfect segue to the next question. Can you discuss the distinctions between a traditional publishing deal and an administration deal? What are the pros and cons of each of those?
Actually, when you work with Songtrust, you can also work with a publisher. But when you work with Songtrust, it's first you can break the contract whenever you want, so you are not stuck with a publisher. But also you can decide to register the songs that you want. So if you only want to collect, for example, 3 songs, you are able to do it. And also we don't, in terms of fee, for example, it's 100% for you. So there is a big difference because at the end, as a pub admin, so we don't work with the writers as a publisher is supposed to work, which means that, having marketing costs, for example, or supporting the writers. But we are non-exclusive, you are free, you can register the songs that you want, and we only take a fee. So
that's what I was just going to say. So it's not like a 90-10 split or an 85-15 or anything?
No. It depends really actually of the deals, but it's not. No, absolutely not. But you can also be a publisher and work with us. So we will help you to get registered, with rights organization and to collect everywhere. So we are kind of, how do you say, neutral? Yeah. Absolutely.
In listening to you answer that and then Eric's follow-up, it brings to mind, can you discuss how valuable an artist's music publishing can be and why it is so important for them to hold on to it? I mean, this seems to be the essence of what Songtrust is about, providing that service so that you can hold on to it. You just said that it's a fee-based organization, not a ownership of copyright. So can you talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. We take absolutely no ownership, nothing. So if the writer keeps actually 100% of his rights. So that's the biggest difference with a publisher, because yes, we take a fee, but we take a fee on the revenues, not a fee on the publishing side, on the publishing share actually. So the writers keeps 100% of the publisher share, but also 100% of the writer share, which means that it's the biggest difference with a writer, because especially now it depends on the writer and what he wants to do. So if he wants to work with a big publishing company, because a big publishing company is able to, set up some sync deals, for example, very, high level sync deal, or is able to provide a marketing expenses for him, marketing budget to help him. It can be interesting for the writer to work with that type of publishing company, but it really depends. If it's an indie band or indie writers or composers, I'm not sure that it can be helpful for the writers, because plenty of publishers actually do the same job as us. So it's mostly pub admin. So that's why for the writers it can be helpful to work with us, but in some capacity, and depends on his style, or if you want to become big star, for example, it's better for him to work with a big publisher like Universal Music, or a publisher that will help him. That really depends on the writers and what he wants to do in his life.
Hey, Insiders, we hope that you've been enjoying our featured interview. Stay tuned because we've got so much more value coming your way. But before we dive back in, a word from our sponsor. Hey, Ritch, you're the founder, CEO, legend of Music Business Registry. Tell us what the Music Business Registry is all about.
Well, what it's about, Eric, is it's a company that is designed to provide the most accurate and up-to-date contact information for the music business. So if someone is looking to reach the A&R community, if someone is looking to reach music publishers, if someone needs to reach artist managers, if someone needs to reach music attorneys, if someone's looking to place their music into film and television and needs to reach all the music supervisors, that's the contact information that we provide. We've been doing it for 28 years. We're sort of the industry standard, if you will, for the music business and have been serving them since 1992. So that's what we do.
Amazing. So if I wanted to find out, let's say A&R people from Warner Brothers, let's say, I can just go in there and find that in the A&R registry?
Absolutely. You'll find all of the Warner Brothers in there. You'll find the Warner Brothers in LA, Warner Brothers in New York, Warner Brothers in Nashville, Warner Brothers in London, Warner Brothers, probably in Australia as well. So those are the main territories that we cover.
Amazing. And we're offering all of our insiders right now that are listening, if you visit musicregistry.com and use coupon code MUBUTV10 at checkout, you'll get a 10% discount off your first order. That's musicregistry.com, coupon code MUBUTV10. Anything else you want to say, Ritch?
Well, when you're ready to put your music to work, musicregistry.com.
So let me ask you, because this is a sub-question to what we're talking about. For instance, I'm an artist, and I have a company that does publishing administration for us. Could we actually get Songtrust as well if we were working with another administrator in terms of finding more of those revenue, or no, that would be more of a...
No, it's just because if you already work with an administrator, we won't be able to work together just because as we are working directly with rights organization, it can create some claims and conflict. So that's why we can't. If the company is a publisher, yes, we can. We can work with that company. But if the company is a pub admin, no, because it means that we'll send, the same musical works to the rights organization, which creates some, issues.
It creates some confusion. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you take us through some of the basic steps and best practices of what artists need to do to set up their own publishing companies in the most efficient way? You were just talking about your friend's son, and like an example of setting up the PRO, the publishing company, copyrights, etc. Can you take us through that step by step?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that you should do is to get a registration with the copyright office, actually, to make sure that everything is okay with your musical works. So you can also work with a company, maybe co-signed. So I have no investment in co-sign and absolutely nothing, no partnership. But it's just a company that can help you to make sure that everything is okay, which means that, for example, the split agreement with the co-writers or composer, which is extremely important, because at the end, the rights organization and the publisher will send you the money based on the split agreement. Right. So that company co-sign can help you with all documentation around actually copyright. So agreement, but also to get you registered with the copyright office. So first, for me, it's really the first step. Do you have a contract with the co-writers? Do you have a contract with the composers? If not, do it, because if you don't have a contract, you don't know what can happen.
And that's the songwriting agreement with the splits.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's just 2 pages. It's absolutely nothing. It's just to make sure that you are okay with the splits, because what will happen if the co-writers or the co-composer don't agree with you, or you have a big fight?
Exactly. You want to get that stuff done up front. Yeah.
You can be friends and very quickly no. So it's the first step for me. The second step is to get affiliated with a rights organization. So if you work with a company like Songtrust, for example, we have direct registration with rights organization like ASCAP, BMI or SOCAN, IMRO in Ireland. So which means that if you register with Songtrust, we are able to send you directly to the registration with those rights organization. If we don't have a direct registration, you can also registered with get a membership with your local PROs or CMO, because I wouldn't advise a writer to get affiliated with a rights organization that is not his local rights organization, because of subsidies, for example, education, or even pension or health coverage that you can get with your local rights organization. And after that, you can work with a company like Songtrust to help you to get affiliated with all rights organizations in the world. I know that, technically the rights organization will collect through reciprocal agreement, but it can be very slow, and also sometimes they don't actually know that you have, for example, a broadcasting or a concert in a country outside of your country. So what we'll do is to make sure that we will register your musical works everywhere. Not all your musical works, but the musical work that you have decided to get registered with us.
And another sub-question to that I, just from a curiosity standpoint, because there's a lot of confusion, should an artist, what's the benefits of them setting up their own publishing company? Could you explain that?
I would say that it's like what I said about publishing company. It's the benefits is like you will get your publishing share. Actually, that's the benefit of doing it. That's also why Songtrust was created in 2012, I think. It's because they wanted to help artists without publishing company to get their publisher shares. That's the story actually of Songtrust.
Because typically, normally they would get it still sent to them through the PRO, right? But
it depends on the rights. Actually, it's not everywhere, and sometimes you need to have a publisher in some countries. In other countries, you don't need a publisher, so it really depends. But you don't get all the publishing shares actually. If you take, it depends. Yeah, it depends if the country is based on copyright or if the country is based on author rights. So it's another discussion we can have, because it's maybe too technical.
Yeah, it's a little bit technical, but no, but it's good. Yeah,
but it really depends. So in some countries you can, and in other countries you really need to have a publisher. I would say, like in the UK, for example, it's easier to go through a publisher or a pub admin than by yourself. So it might be interesting for a writer. Once again, it depends on your project. On the time you have, and if you have a very good accountant, and if you understand, how to register a work with a rights organization, if you understand CWR, for example, or if you understand all those data, because it's the most complicated, I would say, is really to understand what to send to a rights organization, because it's not the same everywhere. If you work with GEMA or SACEM, the CWR are not the same than, it's supposed to be the same, but you have, some technical details that are different. So, it's interesting for a writer to have his own publishing company. If you have the knowledge, the time, that's great. But most of them don't, so we support those, we don't have the money, or the knowledge or the time to set up their own publishing company.
Let me ask you, Virginie, how can artists or songwriters become involved with Songtrust? What's the process?
Very easy, online. So they just have to register online, and they just have to fill a form, to fill in a form, and from there we will contact them to make sure that we have everything in place. So we have a contract they can sign online, and it's a very, very easy process. And from them, either we contact them, or also we can send a newsletter or emails to make sure that they have everything. And we also have, a CS team, a customer service team dedicated to our clients, so they can contact us actually whenever they need us.
Wonderful.
Excellent. Virginie, are there any books or films that have really resonated with you, professionally speaking, that you could recommend to our audience?
About publishing?
Yeah, publishing or anything that maybe influenced you. That would be helpful.
The book, do you know the David Byrne book, about how to make it in music? So that book, it's a big book. But it's very interesting. Also on Netflix, you have a series about also I don't remember the title.
Song Exploder.
Yeah.
Yes, all about the writing of individual songs. They do these half-hour shows on individuals, whether Trent Reznor or
absolutely
Dua Lipa did one. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that one is really super interesting, really. And also you have movies like the movie with Lady Gaga that was really about
Stars
writing.
Born?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
About writing, and so and you have plenty of on Songtrust also try to educate a lot their clients. So we also give away plenty of documentation, ebooks for free. So we also give away, we talked about the split agreement. So we also give away split agreements. It's very, very basic, but if they need something, at least, they will have it.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to be a client. You just, can download.
Download it and use it. Yeah,
absolutely. So we also try to give them plenty of info because we know that it's difficult.
Absolutely, yes.
Absolutely.
It can be. It can be. It's funny. I teach courses on the music business, and the way I learned the most about music publishing was about teaching it. That over the years, that's how I really came to learn and understand was by teaching it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what advice do you have, Virginie, because you've had a very interesting career in this space, for our listeners who are interested in a career as a music publisher who want to get into that field professionally?
Well, as you said, you said that you learned music business. For me, I learned music publishing by doing it. Actually, it's really when I started to read the contract, because when you read an article, it sounds it's like it's very difficult to understand and to really to know what they mean by writer share, publishing share. I don't know. So it's really, I would say, it's to start probably with internship. Or to start working with an artist, or it's really to start directly with a contract and to understand the real life, because also plenty of people see music publishing like Think, for example, which it is, but it's not all the time. So I would say that the best way is probably to start with an internship everywhere. Or even to work with an artist for free. It's how I started also, just to work with artists, or to write about it. That can also be interesting, to write articles about music publishing. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting one.
Flipping that question around, what advice can you offer our listeners who are wanting to pursue a career as a recording artist?
Oh wow! It's good luck. It's very brave. I would say that to learn about music business, we talked about it, but it's what I said to my neighbor's son. Actually, it's really, you need to understand that it's not about being in a studio and writing your songs, because you can be the best, but it won't work. And I'm sorry to say that, but we know now that artists really must understand how works the music business. Without that, I'm not sure that they will be successful, because now it's really a question of business. They can be the best, but if they sign a contract that is very bad for them, for example, it can just destroy their career. So they really should know about music business. So I know that most of the time they are not interested, or they think that it won't be their job, but it's their job. It's part of their job. I don't remember the name of that DJ, but he said it's not Diplo, maybe it's Diplo, I'm not sure, but he said that now to be successful, you have to be your own lawyer. So you have to, so you have to understand what you are doing. It doesn't mean that you have to be a lawyer or you have to understand a contract, but you have to understand what you give.
Yes,
and what you sign.
Yeah, you have to be educated.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that if they want to be successful, they can be, as smart and talented, really. But if they don't understand what they sign, Radiohead is a Trent Reznor. They are the best example, actually, because they really try to change. I mean, they change in some ways the business, but because they know really what they have to do. So it's a very good example.
Virginie, Thank you so much for doing this. We really, really appreciate it very, very much.
Thank you very much for your question. Thank you. Thank you.
You know, Eric, I really enjoyed this conversation with Virginie.
Yes.
I have been aware of her for many years. This is a woman who has been an executive in the music business for several years now, the international music business.
Right.
I mean, she really knows this industry very, very well. And I think the whole model of what Songtrust is offering is something that's very, very, very important for our audience to know, which is publishing administration for their music.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of times the audience or new artists today don't really have an understanding of the kinds of services that they offer. And Virginie talked about the services that they offer. What I also loved about it is that she didn't try to sell it as something that's for everybody.
Right.
She spoke about who it works for,
Right.
but she also, if you recall, spoke about who it doesn't work for.
Yep.
Exactly. And I thought that was a very important point.
Yeah, and I thought it was really great that we asked her the question about how to set up your own publishing company and how to go through that step by step. There's such a big confusion with music publishing, and it's kind of a confusing subject to go into. And so I really love the fact that she went into that step by step of how to set that up for a new artist, because it gets back to the whole importance of how important and valuable music publishing is.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That was the thing that I thought that when she talked about the value of music publishing, so many songwriters, like you were just saying, they don't understand the value of their music publishing. And this is something that will last for the rest of your life. It's something that can take care of you, your family, and the next generation of your family for the rest of your life. So this is where I think the real value came in, is understanding a service that's out there for you and to explore it for your own music publishing administration services.
Hey Insiders, thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We really appreciate it. To get show notes, links, and everything that was mentioned during this interview, head on over to our official website at MUBUTV.com/podcast/show notes. If you're enjoying the content and what we're doing here on the show, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts from. And don't forget to rate and review our show over at iTunes. 5-star reviews are always welcome and help to ensure that our podcast stands out on the top rated and new and noteworthy charts on iTunes in our space. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all ending with the handle MUBUTV, which is spelled MUBUTV. Don't forget to catch our flagship show, the MUBUTV Insider Video Series, airing every week on YouTube at youtube.com/MUBUTV. This show was produced and created by Ritch, Esra, and Eric Knight. This show would not be here if it weren't for our amazing team, which are the following: interview editors Sarah Nissenbaum and Alex Taylor, show notes and transcriptions by Jani Chang, Nicole Capodoglo, Lilia Owens, and Sarah Nissenbaum, theme music by Disciples of Babylon, and be sure to tune in next week for another episode of the MUBUTV Insider Podcast.